The message was never supposed to reach her. It was a small slip, a tired father's thumb hitting send before his mind had a chance to catch up. But those two little words would set off a chain of events that Caleb Hart never could have seen coming. Caleb sat by himself at the cramped kitchen table in his modest Columbus apartment. The pale glow of his phone screen the only light in the room while everything else sat perfectly still. His 5-year-old son, Oliver, had finally drifted off on the couch after an exhausting day of daycare and tears over missing his mom. The apartment carried the faint smell of microwave macaroni and the lavender soap Caleb always used during Oliver's bath time. Life had felt unbearably heavy lately. 2 years earlier, Caleb had lost his wife to a sudden illness, leaving him to raise Oliver on his own, while keeping up with a demanding position at a financial consulting firm downtown. The days were relentless, and the nights even more so. Every single morning felt like standing at the base of a mountain he wasn't sure he had the strength to climb. That night, exhaustion had settled over him like a thick fog. His eyes were burning as he typed out a quick thank you message to Oliver's babysitter, Rachel, for helping out earlier that day. But his tired fingers slipped. Instead of sending it to Rachel, he sent it to his boss. I love you. The second the message left his phone, Caleb went completely still. His stomach dropped straight through the floor. His boss, Victoria Hale, was widely known across the company as sharp, intimidating, and relentlessly professional. She ran the firm with the kind of precision that left no room for error and rarely offered anyone a smile. People around the office quietly said she had built her career on iron discipline and zero tolerance for careless mistakes. And Caleb had just texted her, I love you. His heart started hammering so hard he could almost hear it. He frantically pulled up the message thread again, desperately hoping he had somehow imagined the whole thing. But there it was, delivered. Caleb dropped his face into his hands and let out a long, quiet groan. After everything he had worked so hard to build, after months of proving himself as a reliable employee despite everything he was carrying as a single father, this one stupid mistake felt like it could unravel all of it. Before the panic could completely swallow him whole, take a quick moment to support this channel. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories about ordinary people finding unexpected hope, please like this video, drop a comment, share it with someone who could use some encouragement, and subscribe. Your support genuinely helps keep these stories going. Caleb sat staring at his phone for a solid 10 minutes, going back and forth on whether to send a follow-up message explaining what had happened. His fingers hovered over the keyboard over and over, but nothing he came up with felt right. Sorry, that was meant for someone else. Please just ignore that. Pretend it never happened. Not a single option sounded any less mortifying than the last. Eventually, he exhaled slowly and set the phone face down on the table, holding on to the thin hope that Victoria would just assume it was a misdirected text and let it go. Then came the knock. 3 slow, deliberate knocks at his apartment door. Caleb frowned. It was nearly 9:30 at night. Nobody came by that late. Oliver shifted slightly on the couch but didn't wake. Caleb made his way to the door, unease building with every step. When he opened it, the air went right out of him. Standing in the dim light of the hallway was Victoria Hale. She had a dark coat pulled over her work clothes, her hair slightly tousled from the cold night air outside. But the look on her face was nothing like the one Caleb saw every day at the office. It was softer than that, uncertain even. For a moment, neither one of them said a word. Caleb's mind scrambled to make sense of how she had even found his address. Then it clicked. The emergency contact forms employees filled out for HR. She must have pulled it up herself. I'm so sorry. Caleb finally got out, his voice tight with embarrassment. He rushed to explain that the message had been meant for someone else entirely, that it was just a clumsy mistake, that he never intended to make her uncomfortable in any way. But Victoria quietly raised one hand to stop him. Her voice was calm and low. She told him she had already figured it was probably an accident. But she had come anyway, because sometimes accidents have a way of surfacing things that people are too guarded to say out loud. Caleb stared at her, not quite sure what to make of that. Victoria stepped inside slowly, taking in the small apartment around her. Her gaze settled on Oliver, curled up peacefully under a blanket on the couch, one hand wrapped around a stuffed dinosaur. Something in her face shifted in a way Caleb had never seen from her before. He told her everything then, about raising Oliver alone after losing his wife, about how stretched thin he felt between work and fatherhood, about the constant quiet fear of failing on both fronts at once. The words came out in a rush that surprised even him. Victoria listened without interrupting. Not the way a boss listens, but the way a person does. When he finished, the apartment felt unusually still. Then Victoria did something Caleb never would have expected from her. She told him her own story. Long before she became the powerful executive that everyone in the office kept a careful distance from, she had been someone just trying to hold the pieces of her life together too. She had been engaged once, deeply in love, building toward a future that had felt completely certain. Then the man she was going to marry was killed in a car accident just weeks before their wedding. Instead of letting herself grieve, Victoria had poured everything into her work. She had built walls around herself so high and so solid that no one in that office had ever truly known her. Until that message. When those two words appeared on her screen, something inside her went quiet. For just a moment, they brought her back to a time when those words had still meant something in her life. And in that moment, she understood just how alone she had let herself become. Caleb sat with that, not saying anything at first. For the first time, Victoria Hale didn't look like the untouchable figure everyone at the firm was so careful around. She looked like a person, tired and real and a little bit fragile. As the night wore on, the two of them talked quietly while Oliver slept on the couch nearby. They talked about losing people, about fear, about the strange, relentless way life keeps pushing you forward even when part of your heart is still stuck somewhere behind you. And somewhere in the middle of all that talking, something shifted between them. Not in a dramatic way, not all at once. Just a quiet, almost invisible turn. Two people who had both been carrying too much alone, realizing that the other one actually understood. Weeks went by after that night. At the office, Victoria stayed professional as always, but there was something noticeably different in the way she talked to Caleb. She became surprisingly accommodating when Oliver needed him. She started asking about the little boy from time to time, in the kind of offhand way that told Caleb she actually meant it. Then one Saturday afternoon, something happened that caught him completely off guard. Victoria showed up at a Columbus playground where Caleb had taken Oliver to spend the afternoon. Oliver was tearing across the grass, laughing as he chased a cluster of pigeons near the swings. The sound of it filled the whole space with a kind of warmth that was hard to describe. Victoria watched him run, her expression quiet and thoughtful. She admitted out loud that she hadn't realized until that moment how much she had been missing something this simple. Sunlight and open air and the sound of a kid absolutely delighting in the world around him. Over time, those moments became more and more regular. Oliver started waving at her like she was someone he had always known. And Caleb gradually came to understand that the mistake he had once been certain would cost him everything had quietly been building something he never expected. A real connection, a friendship, maybe, in time, the beginning of something even deeper. Years later, Caleb would still find himself thinking back to that night. The message that had made him cringe. The message that had kept him up with dread. The message that had completely changed the direction of his life. Because life doesn't always move forward through careful plans and clean decisions. Sometimes it moves through accidents, through mistakes, through moments that seem almost too small to matter, but somehow swing open doors you never even knew were there. Before this story wraps up, I want to ask you something. Comment below and let us know where you're watching from. And tell us whether you believe that some of life's greatest gifts show up wrapped in the most unexpected mistakes. One evening, long after that night, Caleb stood in his kitchen again. But this time, the room wasn't quiet and empty. Oliver sat at the table lost in a coloring project, and Victoria stood right beside Caleb. Laughing softly as Oliver insisted, she had to help him draw a dinosaur that was bigger than the entire house. Caleb looked at the two of them, and a quiet warmth spread all the way through his chest. Then he picked up his phone and typed out a message. "I love you." This time it wasn't a mistake. If the story stayed with you, please like the video, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe for more stories like this one. Your support helps keep these stories reaching people all over the world.